Hey everybody, welcome in. I've been working away on a larger watercolor painting. And as you can see, I've got most of the rocks and the small pebbles already painted in. I was just taking some time today to fill in the good morning, Jan. Nice to see you. I'm using some of the Daniel Smith watercolor sticks, the Soda Light Genuine, which is a granulating color, and I'm mixing it with a little bit of green earth, which is also a granulating sort of a color. And I thought I might just start a live stream and see if anybody wanted to come in and chat with each other and do a little art this morning. How are you doing? How are you feeling there? It's nice to see you, Jan. Before I forget, I would just want to give you a little shout out and tell you I really appreciated your email, Jan. Good morning, Maya. Or good afternoon, because you're not morning in your time zone. Ah. Jessica Lynn, hello. Happy painting. Yeah, Maya, I'd love to do that. Shall we run this one for a little while and then I'll wind it up and we can do a live stream that way. Irish Mart, good morning. I've just got the tiniest brush. I'll never really quite plan these out. They just sort of come along as they do. God, had I planned this out a little bit, I might have done a wash of this color in the background and laid the pebbles over it, but doesn't really matter. Keeps me busy either way. So if you've been around the channel kind of regularly, you know I invest in some of the Daniel Smith watercolor sticks, and I went for the ones that were more granulating colors, which just means those little particles sort of find their way into clumps and they make these fantastic splotches and bits like here. And I'm just tickled with the way they come out, like looking like actual rocks without too many washes and too much fussing. The paint really seems to do the work. Nice. So Jessica, you've been here when I'm using the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2s, and they're, I really like them. I have a lot of fun with them. I'm curious to know how you're using them. One of my favorite ways myself is to use a palette and just kind of scribble them down on the palette and then add some water. And you can scribble 2 or 3 colors together and just kind of make your own watercolor with them. I use one of these craft mats. This is a Fisker's one. There we go, right here. Let's just do it. Let's do that thing. So Jessica's talking about these water-soluble wax pastels. And they're called Neocolor 2s. Neocolor 1 is also a crayon shape, but it is a non-water soluble pastel. I don't really work with those too much, but my trick is just scribble a little right on. Maybe we want a gold green. And you can add some water. You can also color, like use them like a coloring crayon. But they mix right up and they make themselves right into a watercolor paint just so easily. And the colors are really beautiful. Not sure how they're rated for light fastness, but the color is the company that makes them is very reputable, and they make wonderful art supplies. I don't worry about it too much. Yeah, if you're in the United States, I found some good prices on them on, I think, I haven't looked for them on Jerry's Artorama. If you can find them on Jerry's Artorama, I really like their service. I like how quickly things ship out from them. But the ones I bought were a really good price from Blick Art Supplies. Wasn't loving their shipping quite as much. They use FedEx, and where I live, UPS delivers much more reliably and more quickly. The things I ordered from Jerry's Artorama came a couple days early. So, whereas the things from Blick Art Supplies were a couple days late. So, when we're waiting for our art supplies, it's hard. It's hard to be patient. So yeah, those Caran d'Ache will work. Traditional watercolors, watercolor pencil. I'll just throw it all in there. Maya says, she may or may not have ordered some Neocolor. May or may not have. Nice. Bought a set of 10. Great. Terrific. Jessica Lynn says she was looking, and at times seems you can get them for about $2. Yeah, I think that's what I want to say, like $1.98 or $1.95 or 2 1/4, something around there. Once I got them all and swatched them all out, if I can reach it. To grab it. But once I swatched them all out, I found that there were quite a few that were really close in color. So don't fret too much if you don't have the entire selection. Particularly in the warm browns, there are several that are really, really close. Um, I get to thinking, I just get an enthusiasm for having everything that's in the line sometimes. So it's uh, it's my vice, buying art supplies. I think Maya's got a is that what you call full set syndrome, Maya? Something along those lines. Yeah. I use a boy. I've just like got the answers here. I use one of these guys, and if you're doing the neo color, if you're sharpening those, save your shavings. I put them into some small plastic containers with a sort of a lid that seals onto them. These guys. I put the shavings in here with add a little water, and they seal nice and tight so you don't get stuff all over. Oh, it's morning. I think I got like a dozen of these for $3 or $4 at one of the local craft supply stores, and um, then you can re-wet them, the shavings, and it's just, you've got paint and you really don't have any waste. So if you want to get a nice sharp point on your neo colors, I'll use that. I like this sharpener. If you're looking for an interesting size, you might also look on the cosmetic aisle. There's quite a few good sharpeners at the cosmetic aisle. Um, this little light blue pan in here, that's actually ultramarine light. So I also sometimes put the shavings into a half pan and tuck them into my palette. Just use them like watercolors from there. So that's the dichotomy of me. I'll spend a lot of money on art supplies, and then I'm absolutely frugal with saving the shavings. So good morning, Rika. I'm glad to see you this morning, Rika. You were on my list of people to email, and I heard, I haven't gotten over your page to look at it yet, but I heard that, did you get your art sale done? Did that happen? And if you don't mind telling us, how did that work? Um, I know I asked you about maybe what might go on in spring, knowing myself, because I didn't think I could, and I didn't get my stuff together for you for something so quickly, but I am still interested in, thinking about doing something in the springtime. Rika was putting together a live stream art sale, which I think was a wonderful idea. But I started on it, started taking pictures, and then I squirreled off into doing 27 things because ADD autism brain. That's probably enough explanation, right, Rika? ADD, autism brain, off and running. Okay. Oh, so you are going to do a... Okay, honey, if I do an art sale. So you didn't do one? I thought you and Tilty and maybe Fluffer were doing something, and you sold 2 paintings. Okay, that's great. That's terrific. I'm gonna scroll back on the chat here. I think I might have. Yeah. Oh, Jan, I do that too. Those things are. Jan says she saves the shavings from her Derwent watercolor pencils. I've got a couple of the Inktense ones, and they're expensive pencils, and those shavings do some amazing things. So that's why I like you guys so much. Yeah, got all the good ideas. There's Maya's got a good point with one. There is one that's it's like a machined metal one, and you can buy replacement blades for it, so it stays really, you've always got a nice sharp one. And those are usually available in art stores. I can't think of the brand name off the top of my head. That, yes, Rika. ADHD brain. Nice. That was nice. Rika says she did her online art show or live stream art show. Um, Not live stream, a premiere with a live chat art show, and was able to PayPal our friend Tilty some funds. That is wonderful. Yeah, I think. I mean, Jessica, it's just I know what you're talking about here. She's looking for a pencil sharpener for her mom, and she's had one or two along the way that have just been harsh on the pencils. And it seems like all of the pencils, they're all so different. You might have one that's solid pigment all the way through. That sharpens differently than from a very thin. I was trying to sharpen my Albrecht Dürer pencils the other night, and this sharpener, which works really well for most everything I've got, it just chewed these guys up, and they're a bit on the they're kind of a little bit chubbier than your average pencil, and they're, I don't know, hexagonal or octagonal something. They're not round, which is nice, keeps them from rolling off the work surface, but they're a bit of an odd size. So I probably have 4 or 5 different pencil sharpeners that it's just a matter of trying to try them on the pencil and see which one works. So thanks for stopping in, Rika. Have a great day at work. It was lovely to see you. I think we'll have more chatting than painting done today. That's okay. That is good. Yeah, I find that the selling of the art is a bit challenging. And really, it's a rare artist who is also skilled at the marketing and selling. I think a lot of us just we're pretty good at putting our head down and getting to the workbench and working away, but going out and finding, in my day, I sold paintings, prints mostly, screen prints and etchings in a local art gallery or two. And there were a few people at my office job. There were a few people who were really interested in the work I did and would routinely want to buy a screen print. I had one lady who was just like, she always wanted to buy the lowest number in the edition that could, and she was a pretty knowledgeable art collector, and it was years ago. I just wonder if she still has any of my prints hanging on her walls. And now we've got Etsy and all kinds of online venues to sell the art, and that's got a whole bunch of other challenges with photographing things and keeping your website up to date. A little bit more of a challenge. I mean, I'm just, Kind of have my hands full just getting the work done. Okay, so Maya says that there's a triangular pencil, uh, 3 different holes. Some other FC ones, but the triangular one is the best. Ah, yes. Jessica says her aunt has an old school one in the garage, and if it was not on a board, she would take that one. I I will prowl the garages and workbenches when I go to estate sales or moving sales, and sometimes there will be an old pencil sharpener on the wall, and if you offer a few bucks, somebody's willing to find a screwdriver and let you buy it. I have 2 or 3 that I've got that way, and uh, it's they're prized possessions. So if you can find one that way, that's sometimes that's just like the best thing because they don't make. I think Dixon still makes them, and the companies still make them, but the ones you buy today are not the quality of the ones that from 50 years ago. So, hello, Flo. Andrea, good to see you. Good morning. No, that's where Maya says, oh, she's apologizing for geeking out about pencil sharpeners, and I think, I'm just gonna say it. I think we're here for the geeking out about the art supplies. That's how we learn the good tricks and share all the good knowledge. So don't ever apologize for that. Yeah, if you like sneak in with a screwdriver, your aunt will know where her pencil sharpener went. Uh, I had an electric one and I wore it out. Last time I tried to put a pencil in it, it just kind of went. It was not getting the job done. So I set it. It's still kind of a box of stuff. I hate to donate stuff to charities that doesn't work, so it's kind of sitting in a box, and I keep give it the stink eye when I go past because I wonder if it can be repaired. I wonder if it's just, uh, it's so hard to know. Did it just reach the end of its lifespan? This brush is just giving me fits this morning. Should do the job, but it's just going all wibbly on me. Anyway, it'll probably sit there another year and a half, and then I'll go, well, it just needs to go to recycling. Because I would hate somebody to buy it and go, I'm so excited, I've got this pencil sharpener, like a young artist, and then they get home and the thing's, non-functional. Good morning, Robert James. I've been well, thank you. How have you been? We've got, we've got a third of the way through the holiday trifecta of delight. So, that's something. Got a good idea for mostly made plan for how to keep myself busy for the next big holiday. That's about all we can do at this time of year. Oh, I'm trying not to be. I know darn well I'm not the only one who just, like, even if you really like the holidays, they're still so, they're quite challenging. And I know I've only mentioned this 15,000 times, but our family business in later years, my mom bought a flower shop, and that occupied us. And I'll tell you, people who do not enjoy holidays in the way other people do are florists, because we're always just up to our eyeballs in orders. Um, you wouldn't think, I mean, you think about things like Valentine's Day and Mother's Day as being big floral holidays, but Thanksgiving is also huge. People who don't go home for the holidays will very often send like a centerpiece for the holiday table. And, it's just a way to reach out and sort of let your family know that you're thinking about them at the holiday if you can't be with them. So there was not a holiday that went by from the time I was in high school to about 2008. We sold the flowers. So I sold my flower shop sold in 2001, and we closed the family shop 2008. We didn't close it, we sold it. It's still going today. But, you're trying to do your own preparations, and you're like helping everybody else kind of with their holiday preparations as well. So I think about the holidays, and for me it's like, oh, we're just worn out physically from working so hard, and trying to put your holiday together in the midst of all of that. And back when I worked other jobs and my mom was in the flower shop, it was just this time of, like, my mom just being exhausted and crabby, and that's florists. I don't envy them at the holiday time anymore. I'm glad I'm kind of out of that. Tell you guys all those horror stories, but you'd just be up to your ears in orders, and be somebody come in and say, "Oh man, I always wanted to work in a flower shop." It seems like a good idea. Till you do it. Big Chief, hello. Oh. Robert's got a cold. And you had some snowflakes? Oh, it's one of my favorite things in the world, is watching snowflakes come down. But 30. Yeah, it was really cold here. It was well below freezing. I think it was low 30s when I looked at the thermostat. And then I know it just felt colder after that, so. Maya, Maya says, can't you just throw it in the trash if it doesn't work? Well, it was looking at, like, it's plastics and electronics, and my brain just going 40 miles an hour trying to figure out how to not pollute the environment, and I'm not thrilled with that brush either. I feel like I have more control when I use a bigger brush. These small ones just make the dot, and only the dot, and sometimes a bigger one will actually work a little better. I'm gonna keep trying ones until I'll find something that works here. Yeah, so just a little life advice. If you ever thought flower shops were fun, trust me, they aren't. Um, yeah, I could probably just put it in with the electronic recycling. That's probably the best thing to do. All this drama about it. Colds can tend to ramp up and then taper off, so I hope you're at least on the tapering off side of it. Lots of hot tea. Add lemon. Add honey. So how are you doing, Big Chief? What's new in your world? Good stuff? Getting through it? All right, well, that one seems to be working a little bit more efficiently without causing drops of paint to pool up. So I was going through my shipping order. I got a little email message confirming that they had shipped my art supplies, and one of the colors I ordered was something called dusk yellow, which is granulating. It's a mix of I think an azo yellow and PBK 11 Mars Black. It was one of the Van Gogh ones. And I knew, we were talking the other night, and I knew I had ordered something that was kind of intriguing that way, and so before I forget again to tell you, I was wondering if that was one of the ones you had, because it looked kind of intriguing. Sort of a yellow with darker particles that precipitate out of it. And I have no idea what I'll use it for other than, I was in this phase I'm working in right now. I look at it and oh, that'll make an interesting rock. So, what I'll do with the rest of the tube of paint, who knows, because I'm likely to become bored isn't quite the right word, but I'll paint on a topic for a while and then I move on to something else, and something else catches my attention. I sort of reach a point where I've exhausted the ideas in a topic. Although, really, who could get bored with rocks? They're kind of something that's just held my attention. Some of my earliest memories of hanging out with my grandparents and going to the beach and picking up rocks. A little bit different than painting pictures of rocks, but it's very calming. Either collecting rocks or painting them. Okay, so Maya says, oh, dusk yellow granulates a lot. I thought you might know that one. One of these days I'm going to find a paint color that you're going to go, oh, I haven't heard of that. I mean, I hope of that. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever manage it, but I'm gonna try. I think people that have cars, or I don't know what people compete with, having the latest music album, and artists are we're like having art supply competition. Yeah, it reminded me of the way the sky looks before you're gonna get thunder, or before you're gonna get. Uh, I don't live in a place where we have tornadoes, but the sky can turn almost this sort of an odd yellowy color, and it reminded me a bit of an ominous sky, I think. Probably an okay way to describe it. Okay, I might have finally found a paintbrush that's doing the trick for these little tiny spaces. Yeah, sometimes I look at these paintings and I think, oh my goodness, how did I ever get all those little bits of color? But when you get a good brush full of paint and things are flowing, it actually moves along at a pretty decent pace. I mean, paintings this size definitely take a few hours, but it's not an impossibly long amount of time. Yeah. Oh, that's much more working much better. This paintbrush. All right. Thank you, Andrea. I Yeah, I really am calm. I find the painting uh just is a lovely quiet time. My brain stays on what I'm working on for the most part. And um not all of my day goes that way. So, especially with the cardiac stuff, I have just been physically forced to have a mindfulness practice. I can't just let myself be all worked up and wound up and being fueled by, well, it's not anxiety necessarily, but I spent many years as a really just working like a type A personality of pushing and pushing and pushing and meeting demands and just living that way. And now I've had a couple of cardiac procedures and I physically just can't do that, or I'm in a lot of pain. I get, you know, angina and cardiac pain and I have to take medication. So my body doesn't allow me to do that, and I've out of necessity had to start to teach myself to be in a more calm mode instead of in a wound up and pushing kind of a mode. And part of that was, being a business owner. Part of that was, when I was working as a lawyer. Certainly that was a really type A personality sort of a profession. And, look at people, last 20 years, I think people work, there's a lot of people just go, go, go. And, you can do it as long as you can do it. And then your body will say, yeah, you're going to not do that now. So, um, anyway, I do try. I do try to have some calm time every day. It's beneficial to the human body to do that. I did the light green light green paintbrush. You'll have to tell me more. Craft Zone. Hi. Hello, Hannah. Nice. Good job, Maya. Ooh. I lowered my camera setup because I thought that might give people a closer view of what I was working on. Unfortunately, I keep cracking into it, so I apologize for the bobbles. Ooh, too wet. Too much paint. Suddenly she got not calm. you know, this is where I give myself that lecture I'm always telling you guys. It's just paper. Oh, how is winter? Craftzone asks. Craftzone is hailing from India, if I recall correctly. And what part of India, if you don't mind telling us? There's so many. India is like so many. It's like so many diverse cultural groups. One of my very favorite movies was filmed in India, and it wasn't a Bollywood film, although those have their charm. It was a movie called Riding Solo to the Top of the World, and this fellow took an Enfield motorcycle and he loaded it down with camera equipment and all the gear he needed, and he rode the motorcycle up to the Ladakh plateau and then into the Himalaya mountains to Nepal, and the cinematography in the movie is just it's just stunning. And I love that trek that he took. And it's on YouTube. I've watched it on YouTube a couple of times. It's not a very high quality copy of it, but Johnny, the man who filmed it, sadly passed away in 2020. But his beautiful movie still is with us, so he was working on another great adventure movie like that. I believe he was still trying to get funding for it when he passed away, but fantastic movie. He spent time with some nomadic people in the northern parts of India, and the movie starts out in a very populated, I want to say it maybe starts in Mumbai. So, of course, it's very colorful, warm, and populated, and then just moves across this amazing amazing terrain to all of these fantastical places. Never know what you're going to hear when you come in here, do you? It's 101 disconnected sorts of stories. Barbara, hello. The usual's cold, so. Yeah, we've had kind of a cold snap over here on the west coast of the United States, so. Hmm. Oh, working with the alcohol inks. Aren't those magical? They're like clouds of dragon breath in the morning mist. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're having fun with alcohol inks, Maya has been playing with a product called Brusho, Bursho, which are watercolor dye pigment crystals from, and oh, it might even be Enfield, England. They're made in England, and they do some kind of cool magical things that reminded me of the way alcohol inks interact. So here's a new rabbit hole for you, Barbara. go go look up go look up Brusho on Jerry's Artorama. I may or may not have spent an hour and a half looking at those earlier today. I know I'm such an enabler. I'm not gonna apologize. Had a lot of years working, and now I'm gonna have a couple playing. I can get you guys into it too. And I am. We already bonded over new color 2 up in here today. It's Bursho, all one word. You do need supplies. Um, Tampa Bee Mass regarding alcohol inks, they're so frustrating trying to be perfect. Well, I think the strength of it, I, I've mentioned before the reason why I got into watercolor is because I was, it really got, my work got really tight, and I knew I could see that I was just tightening up and controlling and trying to just be perfectionistic about every detail. And somebody had suggested that watercolor would be good exercise because it really it's just not amenable to being controlled in that way. It does its own thing, and so it was recommended that I just take some time and work with watercolor medium for a while and see if that could break me out of that tightness, loosen up my work again, because that was the direction I wanted to go. I mean, sometimes we want to get more control in our work, sometimes we want to loosen, have it be more expressive. And so it's not easy, but you can make the choice to embrace that unexpected quality in the alcohol inks. Just let it rip, and then, maybe let it dry down and then take a look at it and see, if there's a flower. Um, Come in with some permanent markers that are not alcohol based so that they won't. I'm not quite sure what I'd use. Because the alcohol will stay put as long as you don't use an alcohol medium over it. And just explore where you might go with the pieces. art has a way of inviting you into explorations that you just couldn't anticipate when you start. That can be a good thing. You can really lose yourself. You can just have some flow state in the way your brain waves are working when you let yourself play that way with your projects. So hmm yeah, that is to draw realistically because of nerve damage in her hand. Abstract stuff now, and that's probably why you get frustrating. That is a transition. I had a carpal tunnel surgery done, and while I got the nerve function back in these two fingers, they did nerve damage, and so half of this finger, and this finger are just they're buzzing all the time. So I know what you mean with the nerve damage. It's a trade-off, even when you try to get it fixed. That it doesn't always go right. And needless to say, I did not have the left hand done after that. Um, I went to physical therapy, and they taught some exercises that help stretch out this part of the hand. Carpal tunnel is actually a problem of the strength of our hand. We get this band of tissue here, and if you've got a really developed muscle here, like I got that from being a florist and using a knife in my hand and working, doing tasks that just built up strong hands. When you get your Arnold Schwarzenegger sorts of hands, um, let's see, we've got a message here. I don't know why YouTube is holding it, but let's take a look. Oh, clay, like polymer clay. Yep, I'll work in phases with that, and then I have to. Barbara, I do not know why YouTube thought that we needed to hold that, but we'll tell it to show. We'll try. All right, we think it's handled. So, before I wander from the point, so exercises that you can do that kind of open this up and then get some just as much flexibility across this area because there's a band of tissue. So if you build up the muscle, then you put you put pressure on the nerves that run through that tunnel. So if you have a change in your profession, which is part of what alleviated the pressure on the nerves in my left hand, because didn't after I was retired out of the flower shop, then I wasn't doing the work that built it up, so it can ease up a bit. And then one of my doctors suggested, because I'm diabetic, so I have neuropathy from diabetes as well, and my endocrinologist said that alpha lipoic acid, 600 milligram dose daily, can help remyelinate nerves. Uh, Nerves are fibers that are bundled inside of a fatty sheath that's called the myelin sheath. And we do need some essential fatty acids to build that sheath around the nerves. It's insulation, basically. Keeps the nerves from having their messages cross over, literally insulates them so that their messages can travel up and down the nerve. And I found that really helpful. It's abbreviated ALA, alpha lipoic acid. So you might want to And for me, I did like 30 days of it, had significant improvement. Burning and pins and needles and stabby pain in my feet just went away. And I thought, oh, I'm diabetic. It's just here now. It's always going to be that way. And then I also got some relief in my hand from that. And I don't have to take it all the time. I'll take it for a couple weeks every now and again when I start getting neuropathy symptoms. So uh, I took gabapentin for a long time and it never really helped all that much. So I was getting a refill on that, and the doctor said, hey, thought about getting off the gabapentin. And I'm like, yeah, every time I fill it, it's expensive and it doesn't work for me. Um, and then we came up with the alpha lipoic acid plan, and that was really effective. So might be something. Andrea, you're welcome. I try to, I'm 63. There ought to be something in my head by now. And I go around the world and I'm like, I see dumb stuff and I think, God, I've got a good idea about that. And I find that very few people want to listen to my good ideas. So I'm very grateful that, oh, Tampa B Man says, gabapentin makes me a werewolf. Not quite sure what that means, but that's kind of funny. Oh, flower arranging is your nemesis? I'll tell you something, even as a trained florist, if you don't stay with it, you've got to warm back up to it. Um, I can grab flowers and arrange them in my hand and put them in stems in a vase, but doing a formal arrangement where it's in floral foam, oh, it takes me a couple weeks to get back up to speed when I've been not doing it. So, oh, you were a hairdresser. Oh my God, knees and hands. And probably shoulders too, right? Yeah, and Barbara, I was thinking about you the other day. I hadn't seen you in here for quite a while, and I saw you in another forum. I was kind of watching. I was lurking. I wasn't talking, so it was nice to see you, and I'm glad to see you in here because I miss seeing you in here. Ah, thank you, Andrea. Flo says, in what way do you become a werewolf? Does it make you like stay up all night and get growly? Irish smart, you're generous. I'm not sure it's great wisdom, but it's something. Our brains just kind of. Actually, gabapentin leaves leaves her feeling like she's transforming into a highly emotional human wolf. Well, that is does not sound like fun. And then, are you still in pain, or does it actually knock the pain down for you? Because uh, that's kind of my experience with a lot of. I get a lot of side effects to pharmaceuticals, and I find out like they don't really help the problem all that much, and get all these crappy side effects. Um, and then I learned I was late diagnosed autistic person. I learned that side effects. A lot of times, people with autism have, we've got these kind of highly tuned, very busy nervous systems, and we do seem to experience more medication side effects than the average bear. So, particularly if you're a neurodiverse person, it's not just you. You might just be built that way, and that's it's fantastic. It's human. It's not a fault, and it's not a bad thing. It's just an explanation. I'll tell you, I spent a lot of time going, why? Why does this happen? Why? Why can't I figure it out and do it better? Just built that way. Wow. You guys. Do you hunt small humans or rip doors off things? I'm curious about the wolf part. Oh my goodness. I'm sure they mean it in a supportive way, Barbara. Let's be nice to her. Cry, get angry, and am intense rapidly. Wow. Well, it's not a nothing drug for sure. I've talked to people who really kind of go through it if they've been on it a while and they come off of it. I stopped taking it and it was kind of more painful, but for not very long. I've had a really hard time transitioning off of selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Literally took 3 years to get tapered off of that. And after I finally put my foot down and said, I'm not taking a drug that doesn't do it what it's supposed to be doing, and I go into withdrawals every time we try to discontinue the drug. I'm stopping it and getting off of it for once and all. It took forever, but gabapentin only seemed to take about a week, and then I was like, it was a little bit more painful and I felt like I got off really easy on that compared to what other people have mentioned. And anyway, but that it kind of brings us to something that's important for artists, and that is this idea of repetitive motion injuries. And they certainly can happen to artists. It can happen to us in the workplace if you're working with tools or anything that's got a vibration to it. That seems to particularly be hard on our hands. But I work in polymer clay, and that is really tough on the hands. So I had to take a break from it just because I was feeling numbness and tingling just all throughout my hands. Hey, Sophia. Hello. Gabapentin. Is it Lyrica? Yes, we've been... I have taken drugs that one doesn't do that to me, but I have taken drugs that have just absolutely flipped my lid. They tried me on Prozac, and I had a really bad reaction to it. I knew that something was terribly wrong. I was just strung like a bowstring, and it caused a side effect called akathisia, which is just like abnormal movement. And all of my muscles were just tensed up. I couldn't sit down in a chair. I can remember standing in the doctor's office with my arms outstretched to the side and kind of standing on my tiptoes. And my back felt like it was arched, and it was an effect from the Prozac. It turned all of my muscle fibers up to high, and it was really painful. And the doctor kind of took one look at me and went, oh, no, that's not good. Yeah. So you got they prescribed gabapentin for an injury resulting from nerve damage. Yeah. Andrea Flo says, I enjoy the level of conversation on your channel. Your members have great vocab and are rather poetic. Fun. You are. You folks are wonderful. I think it's, I might be biased because it's my channel, but I think you guys that show up and just talk to each other and support each other, you're wonderful. Mm. Oh, Tampa Bee man. Do you have my, if you ever want to talk about that, fluoxetine is another one of those SSRIs, and coming off of them, there is something called selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor discontinuation syndrome, and it is similar to benzodiazepine discontinuation. Coming off of benzodiazepines is a process that can take up to 24 months. And I think we're getting more research that's coming out on this discontinuation syndrome. It can be quite a drawn out process. And what'll happen is you drop your medication level down, and about 3, 4, 6 weeks out, start to feel like you're having another depressive episode, and just my doctors blamed that on, oh, your depression's back. And I would finally, after taking notes and keeping track of it, finally got them to see the big picture. Because I knew, like, there was nothing going on in my life that should be causing a recurrence of the depression. The thing that was happening was coming off of a drug, and then I would feel like my skin was on inside out. I really just kind of had to draw this parallel that if you had a heroin addict and they went into withdrawal, you wouldn't say, oh, just take some more heroin, it'll be okay. You do something else. And that was basically what they were doing, because I had no medical need at that point. I wasn't suffering from depression. I didn't need to be taking an antidepressant other than to stave off the withdrawal symptoms. So if you're going through that and you start feeling like it also had some psychological effects, right? The withdrawal was just, my head was just, crazy. Sort of a manic-like state, and my emotions being very up and down. And it was the withdrawal. It wasn't mental illness. It was the physical effects of having a substance come out of my body. And so we worked through that finally. But it did take a long time, and it took stepping down that dose. Milliliter by milliliter. A couple of those antidepressants are available in a liquid form, so there are ways to do it. And if you ever want to talk to me about it, you can send me an email, and it's my channel name, Janelle Art. Just janelleart@gmail.com. Yeah, I was on them for probably close to 25, 30, probably years before I finally just said, like, every week I come in, we do this, and it's just like the whole cycle of it was like it was a lifestyle of going to therapy and getting meds, and I just wanted a different hobby, I think. Probably. Yeah. See, coming off of SSRIs, I did become a werewolf. It was, yeah, very, very uncomfortable to be me for that period of time. And every time we dropped the dose down, I'd go through 2 weeks of feeling like my skin was on inside out. And I really think we got to tell people. And and ask my doctor about this, and he's like, yeah, but the risk of people not surviving is really high. So we don't, if they're really desperately depressed, we're not going to give them a whole list of things and dissuade them from taking something that could help them. And I'm like, yeah, but then at the end of it, here I am, and looking back, I felt like I had almost 20 years of being in treatment because nobody was telling me that what I was experiencing was discontinuation syndrome. It's just it's just freaking drug withdrawal is what it is. They just don't give it that name because, they don't want to call it what it is, I think. But you're not crazy. If it's been difficult to make those medication adjustments, it's not. It's a it's a pharmaceutical industry that only has to test drugs for 6 to 12 weeks to show that they're efficacious and don't cause harm. And then they get prescribed to us and we take them for years. And they impact our bodies everywhere from our sexual response to our moods, and tremendously impactful. Meanwhile, these guys are out there just, these companies, these people, making money off of it. By no means am I saying don't ever take psychoactive drugs or medications to help with any kind of mental illness, but I do think that patients have the right to know what kind of side effects they're going to potentially encounter and what it's going to be like to discontinue those drugs. I mean, they tell us when we take morphine. Yeah, that's the rest of the day there. Yeah. Oh, so somebody's mentioning, Sophia saying, treating the symptoms is more profitable. Yeah, I was taking drugs to treat the side effects and then taking more drugs to treat the side effects from those drugs. And I'm like, at this point in my life, I put my on that. I'm not going to take a drug to treat a side effect that you gave me to treat the side effect for the other drug. That's bad medicine, in my opinion. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, somebody says that they've never done well with pharmaceuticals. There's a reason that they prescribe them. There's a reason they keep them a controlled thing that you have to get a prescription for because they do have pretty big impacts on our bodies. And um, again, going back to this um, adding autism into the mix, that complicates things, I really think. Has for me. Oh, Barbara says ADHD meds have been a life changer. Oh, good grief. I miss Ritalin. I miss it so hard. Um, they added Ritalin to my antidepressants because the antidepressants stopped working, and there was some research that showed that adding methylphenidate could boost the antidepressant effect. So I'm like, try this. And like 2 or 3 weeks later, like I was getting stuff done. I was finishing projects, things that I started, I would finish. I was doing, showing up to my appointments on time instead of consistently 7 minutes late. And about a month or two into treatment, he just kind of sat back in his chair and he said, "I think we've got a new diagnosis for you." And I was like, "What? I don't need any more. I've got enough." And he goes, "No, I think you have really had an incredible response to the Ritalin that we've added, and because you have kind of turned around on some of those things that were symptoms of ADHD." He said he'd wondered about it. He'd sat and listened to me for an hour every week, so you kind of get a picture about what somebody's doing, and then you see how they behave trying to keep to a schedule. And then after adding Ritalin, I had a pretty big change, and I felt like I could just kind of keep my thoughts together and get stuff done that I wanted to get done. And he said, "Yeah, you're ADHD." And so I was able to use that medication to help for quite a long time. Then, when I had cardiac problems, I had a double bypass when I was in my late 40s. Okay, mid 40s. And the cardiologist was absolutely no stimulants. Like, no coffee, no tea, no Ritalin. So I'm not allowed to take it anymore. And like I said, I miss Ritalin. I can't imagine how much I would have accomplished back in school or earlier in life if they'd figured that out. And I have a brother he was on Ritalin from first grade on. But girls have a different way of showing their. He was a kid who was standing on his desk and kicking other kids in the head, and I was a kid who was quietly drawing horses in the margins of my papers and maybe looking out the window, but I wasn't causing trouble. I was quiet and very busy head, but not a busy body. So kids who had symptoms like me, they really didn't get shuttled off to get drugs that could help control their disruptive behavior. I think there were quite a few years where I used a lot of coffee and caffeinated beverages to kind of get that stimulant effect. It would Coffee would kind of quiet me down. Cup of coffee, take a nap. And that paradoxical reaction to stimulants is a hallmark of ADHD. So, mm-hmm. Trauma release exercises. Oh, blood pressure meds. Oh, the blood pressure meds were a life changer for you. Now, see, for me, one of the pretty common side effect with blood pressure meds can be depression. So, and I don't think the doctors really explain that very well. So, I always have kind of a long adjustment period when they switch me. I'm on something that works pretty well now, and yeah, I'd like to know more about trauma release exercises. Tampa B Man says that they're a fast charger. Trauma release exercises are a fast charger for mental and physical health. Can't recommend them enough. All right, we always like that. Uh, so not really exercises, but kind of warming up muscles to release the trauma part. Like, okay, are you talking about like the kind of body, the trauma you hold in your body, that kind of thing? Yeah, I'll tell you, Andrea, I try to be a full service channel around here. Somebody asked me what I was. So what is it? They knew kind of what I did, and they kind of made a crack about the. And I'll do it too. I don't mind it. Um, just drawing circles on paper, kind of. So what is it you do? And I'm like, I guess. Uh, well, we chat. If I'm lucky, people show up and we hang out and we talk about stuff. And yeah, then I paint some rocks. We do some of that. I try not to think about it what to the channel, and the content too much. I just try to get the live stream going and do it. And I started it, and it seemed to be something I enjoyed doing. And the lovely, lovely surprise was that other people seemed to enjoy it too. And I get emails from folks who share their own paintings, kind of in this vein, and it's just I sit here and I smile. I get those emails and I just smile, and because I know that feeling of just kind of losing yourself and doing something that's a fairly straightforward, fairly simple kind of a task. And I know how I come away from this. I've done a lot of different forms of artwork, and I'll tell you, there are times where I would come away from the workbench because I was working on a headache. And when I'm doing these watercolor paintings, I come away relaxed, rested. I don't think I've ever had a headache. Um, Coming away from this, it just kind of a kind of a pleasurable, relaxing sort of a thing. So you never know, you guys. In 5 years, pebble painting could be the new craze. You know, everybody was knitting scarves 20 years ago. And we will be the old guard of the pebble painters. Oh my goodness, that makes me giggle. Irish Mart says she learns more on these channels in the past few months than in years. Yeah. India, watercolor, werewolves, medications, supplementation. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. You might have missed our discussion of the pros and cons of various pencil sharpeners. we did a we did have a little bit of art supply review and a little bit of art supply show and tell. So I always like to work those in. Tampa B Man says, I listen to music on a yoga mat away from people. Well, you've got away from people, so there's winner chicken dinner. And music, um, when I get in one of those moods and I'll just be sulky and grumpy and I get stuck in it, I'll recognize that I'm just like feeling mean. And sometimes it takes me a minute to remember if I sit down and listen to a CD, it's really hard to stay in a nasty, bad mood after you've listened to an hour of music. And they're your CDs, so, or, I mean, I'm old. CDs, cassette tapes, records, whatever you have. Um, but an album of music is a wonderful, wonderful way to adjust your way of being in the world. So I love that. And you know that if you're laying on what is that? Shavasana, the dead body pose. That's one of my favorites in yoga. So thank you for the. Andrea says, I like your rocks too. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, Maya says sometimes she has to step away from working on the art because she's working on a headache. Um, yeah, it does happen. It is work. And depending what you're doing, especially if you're working closely and you're not shifting your gaze up, you've just got your eyes sort of in the same focus. Uh, that can lead to tension, and then the physical tension of working closely, holding something, and kind of being contracted into a posture. the that can factor into getting headaches too. So it's always good to like look up and if you have a window in your studio, look up, look out the window. Shift your gaze from 12 inches out to 20 yards or further if you can. Oh, I just remembered I did start to talk about repetitive motion, repetitive use injuries. So I guess those do happen. Um, if you're getting hand problems or shoulder problems or headaches or any of that, it's just a sign to look at doing some stretches and being kinder to your body while you're working. Or, taking good care of it after a work session for sure. Mm. Oh, Andrea, you're just, uh, please don't discount yourself. I'm so happy you're here, and I think the other members of chat are glad that you're here with us too. It's a, it's very often a naive question that forms conversation and opens it up. So, nobody would learn anything. And even people who know quite a lot about something benefit from a conversation. Without a question, how does the conversation start? So, this poor little round brush squished and acting like it's a flat. There we go. Anyway, if there was anything I started and kind of dropped off, because I do tend to ADHD my way through the live stream, so if I have started anything, feel free always to give me a question. Also, if you've had a comment or question in the chat and the chat has rolled and I didn't see it, drop it again. Tampa B Man says, maybe add some. I was thinking about, I love trilobites, and then I'm blanking out. What are the spiral things? Uh, there's fossils that are kind of spirals. It'll come to me. I was also thinking about seashells, too, because those are along the shoreline, too. I just haven't... I guess I'm still kind of delighted with the different rocks and now the way the granulating colors are representing the rocks. I'm just kind of exploring that. But I have looked at these and thought, oh, it could use a little something else in there just now and again, like just maybe one kind of a fossily thing. I love that idea. Oh my goodness. Irish Mart says she loves to take a brisk walk listening to some Tina Turner. Oh, love it. Simply the best. Just crank that up and wonderful. Maya says she's going to start taking notes during these streams. There's so much useful random info. After the live streams get thing, I've noticed quite a few of mine will feature they'll have ask the AI, and then they all will have the transcript once it processes. By the time the live chat has appended to the live stream, and if you scroll to the bottom, there's a transcript. So if you're ever trying to quickly get back to anything, and there's your YouTube tip for the day. Kyla G, hello, welcome in. Yeah. Oh, I'm really behind in the chat here. Oh, golly. Tampa Bay man recently learned that once you score glass, tile, or mirror, break it apart right then. It's not as clean if you do it later. Glass is a liquid, so when you score it, you do need to give it a break. Um, yeah, Fibonacci is the spiral, but there's a type of a fossil that's a creature. Like I've got them sitting in the box with my jewelry supply. I've got some of them that are sliced in half. I just can't think of what they're called. It'll come to me. I'll throw it in the description or something. Yeah. So because glass is a liquid, once you score it and then walk away, those molecules start to move back together, and it happens very, very slowly. But if you look at, I learned this in art history because we studied architecture, and in art history, that is generally religious buildings, so like old cathedrals. And when you look at glass from hundreds of years ago, it it sort of moves down, and the glass at the bottom will be very thick, and then at the top of the pane, it's very thin. And I mean, it takes scores, if not hundreds of years for it to do it. It's extremely slow moving, but that is the that is the science behind the uh, why you have to not let a scored piece of glass sit for a day before you come back in. I used to do stained glass. No, that's not even accurate. I took a stained glass class one time and I made a few pieces of stained glass. And I remember the instructor saying, yeah, you can't just score your glass and leave it on the workbench and then expect a clean break because it starts to wiggle itself back together. I was like, glass is not a liquid. Not really. Apparently. Apparently, liquids don't have to move like water. I am chock full of random stuff, aren't I? Good grief. I just have one of those brains that likes to index those random facts and filled by curiosity and watching too much Jeopardy. I'm also like I've had people who were just like, how do you like why are you so full of trivia? I don't know. Uh, when I found out I was autistic, I went, that might explain it, some of it. I don't think you have to have autism to be, full of random trivia. But, oh, who knows? Oh, that's good. Pinball brain. Oh, that's a good way to describe it. Uh, Flo says, yes, you are, but it's fascinating random stuff. Well, I'm probably willing to listen to this because I have found myself in rooms with my family going, hey, and they're like, no, shut up. We do know. Be quiet. Mosaics. That's something I haven't tried. Uh, I've seen them and I've thought that's a lot like it. It's a lot of elements of a lot of things. Um, One of these days, I'm gonna look at some surface and I'm gonna say I need to put tile all over that in an intricate design. Should I live long enough? I'll get there. Nice. Well, yeah, because you can just keep nibbling it. Barbara says mosaics are good for her perfectionistic side because you could just like keep nibbling away on that, and if the little tile, like you can grab another one, you can make it just perfect and fill in all in between with all the mortar. Oh, you got into clay like actual fired in a kiln clay. Yeah, my mom got into the cold pour ceramics in the must have been like the 1980s, and we had a shop out behind the house with kilns and airbrushing, and we didn't pour the molds. We bought greenware, but we really got into the underglazes and glazing and airbrushing patterns onto different ceramic things. I love that kind of anything that's transformative. Anything like you put it in the kiln and you fire it, and then the glaze comes out. It's a different color. It's just pretty cool stuff. I always wanted to learn how to use a pottery wheel and throw, vessels. And I took a couple classes. I don't know if I didn't have the hand strength or I never could get the clay centered. And I was, I loved hand building stuff. Um, so I did quite a few pieces in classes that were hand built, and I loved the glazing. Glazing, decorating the surfaces. I loved that. But I think in the whole class, I threw one thing that was about this tall. I never could get the knack of it. But it's probably no surprise that I kind of like things with surface decoration. Take a blank space and cover it with shapes. Well, this is coming along much more quickly than I thought it might. I think the last rock painting I did, let's see, I did one and I did a wash of color in the background area, and then I did another one where I left quite a bit of it white. Like, the rocks just needed a little bit of something to get them to pop up a bit, so I wasn't sure when I started it if I really wanted to paint in all these little teeny tiny spaces, but it is coming along, so. Yeah. Tampa B Man asks, what do you do with all your pebble drawing stash? Well, I donated 12 of them to the last chatathon. I just out of curiosity about how I wanted to see how things go. It was supposed to be a fundraiser for the SPTV Foundation, and so far nobody has contacted me about any donations to that. So yeah, if you don't know about SPTV Foundation, don't bother googling it. It's kind of it's if you already know, your brain is already broken, and but if you don't break your brain on it. But if you wanted one of the little squares, yeah, I donated 12 of them, and for a suggested donation of $25, which goes to a good cause, and yeah, I thought, it was a $300 donation from me, and I thought it would give people a make kind of a modest donation to the foundation and get a little treat for it. So that is so far the only thing I've done with them. They are stacked up on the end of my workbench. Nautilus. Um, that's the modern creature, but I'm talking about the prehistoric fossils. So I will go look it up afterwards. I will Google it and I will put it in the description. I'm sorry for having. Don't you hate that when you just have something and you know it, but it's just. There's, a stack of random trivia sitting in front of the drawer in my brain where that knowledge is stored. So, wait, what's getting picked up? What's got to scroll back? So Jan just finished glazing pieces for man building class. You get to pick them up on Monday. It's thrilling. As absolutely, yes, magical. Yeah, don't forget to tell me how they turned out and what it was like, because that's really cool. No, if you have perfect typing, then I don't know if you'll fit in here because it's just not possible on this format. Hey, Brad. It is good to see you. And I hope that you um, enjoy the chat, enjoy hanging out. Um, I don't know if you guys noticed. I kind of took an action. I kind of made a decision on my channel, and I didn't have a chance to tell everybody who might have been impacted by that. There are some people who I had a whole bunch of people who um, I'd ask them if they would do a little bit of moderating, usually to drop links for things, and um, I'm trying to keep this short so I don't bore you guys with it. But I've just had a lot of things going on with moderating, and a lot of my headaches around YouTube have involved moderating, being a mod, and so I decided. I also was looking at the analytics, and I could see what happened with the viewership, and I could see the engagement drop when we were dropping channels links in the midst of the live stream. So I decided I'm still going to do that, but I'm going to do it in comments or do it in the description afterwards. And I also had some feedback from some people that they were feeling like they really needed to be working while they were in here if they were moderators. And moderators, for those of you who don't know, are the names you'll see in blue. So I do have Maya is the moderator for here. She's been with me since the beginning, and she has really helpful to me. But I wanted to make as many people as comfortable as possible, and not feel like they had to come in and work was part of it. And then also we don't really have trolling, so we don't need to do that. I can kind of keep an eye on it and handle it from up here. And if we ever got trolled really badly, I can just shut the chat off, which stops it. But we've never had to do that, so I just want to prioritize people enjoying art and being inspired to do art and not feel like they have to work when they come here. I don't even want Maya to feel like she has to work when she comes here. And I just, the other parts of it that get kind of hairy and ugly, I just don't even want to engage with. So that's the change we've seen. I know that really probably, hopefully it's seamless enough that you guys just don't even feel it or notice it, or I hope it's never really been a problem or burden to you. And yeah, so that's why. So yeah, and Brad is somebody who is I mod for Brad on his channel, and I'm glad to have him mod. But I just saw you pop in, and I realized I hadn't sent an email to tell you about it. So I hope that you're not like uh, somebody else got a hold of me and was really pissed off they'd been unmodded. Um, But yeah, more fun, more art. You are. You are. I hope you're not. I called you a cheese in a chat yesterday, joking, and I was like, later I went, oh my god, I hope Brad wasn't upset because I said he was a cheese. I really love cheese. Cheese is awesome. So I know we usually joke around, so I figured you were probably okay with it. So there was the socially awkward part of my live stream today. Thank you guys for bearing with me. And as always, I don't say this every time, but you know, if you guys are ever feeling anything, any weirdness, just let me know. If there's, we only have the good kind of weirdness here. That's what I'm aiming for. Proper, proper strangeness. And as a person who like has a little bit of trouble concentrating on things, when I'm someplace and there's links being dropped, I'm just like they're rabbit holes, and I'll go, oh, maybe I'm gonna go there and subscribe, and then I forget to come back, and then I end up watching on replay when I wanted to watch on live stream, and I just want to keep it kind of simple, kind of easy. All right, I know I'm missing a few. I can't believe we got all the way through this thing. I thought for sure this would be a few more hours, but all y'all are good company. Just keep me working along and rocking my way through all these little white spots. So I appreciate it if you've given me a like. Thank you so much. On these vertical live streams, you can just double tap that screen if you want to give a like. Let's see. You did okay. Good. Cheese was good. I would not like some foot cheese. Wikipedia, right? Irish Mart says like me in Wikipedia. I go to look up something, and oh my gosh, um, yeah, I spend more time reading, hanging out. Like Wikipedia is a social media site for me. so, so many things to learn. I spend more time on Wikipedia than I do on Instagram, but I spend more time on my banking app than I do on Instagram these days. Ooh, wow. Sophia, nobody get normal on me here. We agreed on weird. Exactly. I want that on a t-shirt, Sophia. That's awesome. Yeah, no on the foot cheese. The question is, do I have like in the Wikipedia rabbit holes, the warrens and interconnected? Yes, absolutely. Well, Irish Mart, it has a way of coming back. Like it'll disappear. Like you can't find a damn thing in your brain when you're in your 30s. You get to 60 like me and you're like, "Oh, I know something about that." You know glass is a liquid? Don't worry. It's just um it's just temporarily under a pile of other stuff. It is not lost. Hi, Selma. Hello. Oh, Barbara. Um, ew. I don't know. Ay, ay, ay. That must be it. Being, she says she was a nail tech and that feet are cleaner than hands. I believe you. And also, I don't think anybody ever tipped you enough to do that job. No, Brad gets all the foot cheese. Oh, that's interesting. Sophia says it's called acting normal for a reason because it's acting a part. Well, if that isn't, well, let's mask up and act normal, right? Do, do, do. Yeah. Barbara, did you go to. Huh. Mm-hmm. So, I finally decided to solve the I lose my car keys problem. And I went to Harbor Freight and I bought a big magnet, one of those rare earth magnets that's really strong. And I go out through the back door. My dryer laundry room is there. So I put that magnet on the front of the dryer and I stick my car keys to that. That is where they live. And I am very disciplined. I come in the door and I put the keys on the magnet. And every once in a while I'll kind of sneak them into my pocket, but as soon as I find them, I'm like, nope, out to the drawer. The keys live on the front of the dryer. I think that's one of the benefits of kind of becoming an old person. Like, you reach a point where you just get frustrated with yourself at that goofy thing that you do, and you finally undertake solving the problem. And for me, it was getting the magnet. I finally just went, what's it gonna take for me to know where my keys are? Like, always know where they are. They're either in the ignition or they're hanging on the magnet on the front of the dryer. I'm sure if I somehow knocked the magnet off and it got stuck under the dryer, I would spend a week and a half losing my keys before I made myself go buy another magnet. Life advice, but I think it's just, when you reach the frustration level, just go ahead. Go ahead and solve it. Yeah, I like that. I like that concept, Sophia. It's just acting a part. That's true. One of the things that I kind of had to deconstruct as I learned about autism was this idea of masking. I couldn't figure out why I'd go do something and I'd come home and I'd just be so exhausted from the interactions. And it really is a challenge. Masking. I'll leave it to you guys to Google autistic masking to kind of take from that vast topic what resonates with you. But it took me a minute to kind of realize that I did a lot of that, and it includes holding your face in a particular position, because if I just am left to my own devices, I get kind of I guess a look on my face that people will say, "What are you mad about? What's wrong?" And or I look kind of confused, or it's just my I'm taking in information face. But apparently, when you're out with other people, you're supposed to smile gently and make eye contact and nod and do all of this stuff so that people don't think you're cranky. At least me. Uh, and I've come home from places just like my face hurts because I've been making such an effort to have a pleasant expression on my face. Masking goes beyond that to the way that you mirror other people's mannerisms and try to track the flow of conversation. And it's not normal. You can't just relax and go be yourself most of the time, unless you're hanging out with other autistic people, in which case that's that's awesome. I was lucky in college. I ran around with a group. There were 6 or 7 of us who were all neuro spicy, I think we were to there was one person in our group who was an only child, and they can be kind of different people. I have a my brother's 6 years younger than I am, so we basically were like two only children raised in the same family. So pretty close to being a little bit like neurodiverse people. Okay, I'm gonna check. You've got something going on here in chat. So Selma, you want to show me your first art piece, and it took you some time to get yourself to do it and to finish. You finished it. Good job. Everybody give Selma a woo woo for finishing it. That's incredible. I do have an email address now for the channel, and it is Janelle Art, no underscore, just Janelle Art, all squished together at gmail.com. And I would also like to encourage you to, because you're here on YouTube, so you do have a page, and that little plus at the bottom of the screen, if you hit that, there's an assortment of things that comes up. And if you slide all the way to the right, there's something called Community, and you can upload a picture. Take the picture first, and then you can upload it to your Community tab and show it off there too. And I'd love to see you do that. Neodymium. Neodymium. Uh, Next, you're going to try to make me say aluminum. Pacemaker magnet. Oh my god, serious magnet. Yeah, those ones they bring to your chest and shut your. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, please don't add me to mailing lists. I've had a lot of spam on that account since it. And it's not on my page. I've only ever just kind of. We haven't typed it in the chat. I've only ever just done what I just did. And apparently that's enough to get me harvested and spammed. Like the bots that are collecting that information are going to listen to me say, please don't spam me. I'm so optimistic. Irish Mart. I always have to frisk myself before heading out to make sure I have keys, wallet, and phone. Well, the phone's always in my damn hand, so I can't seem to get rid of it. It's like I'm trying to do something, and I'm like, why can't I? Oh, because I've got the phone in my hand. Like, that's never a problem. I finally put my wallet in my coat pocket. I just have one coat that I always wear, so in the wintertime when I always wear the coat, I just like I have to really just engineer things so that I am, you know, not muddling through life like a toddler. Yeah, Drop Short Media says he masks all the time. Yeah, well, hopefully you go home and you don't have to mask. You should have some time where you're unmasked, where you can just be yourself, because it's so much work, and it's really exhausting. Never just one trip to the car. Usually just one trip, but often enough, yeah, back for the other thing. You frisk yourself. That is, I like that. Any tactic that helps you get stuff done, it's all good. Yeah, ADHD. Selma. So you mask all the time as well with ADHD. Are you just, you have the look on your face like, oh, I didn't mess that up. I didn't forget to finish that. I didn't leave that at home. I don't know where it's at. Is it in my corduroy jumper? Where, oh, that face? I know that face too. So Selma, tell me in the email if it's okay with you. I will happily, I love to put stuff in my community page for other people to see too. So if that's okay with you, um, I'll have a look and give you a little love in the comments for it. Andrea, I've often wondered if my neighbors think, how many trips does it take this woman to leave the house? Oh, they're in their own house trying to find their butt with one or the other of their own hands. I'm sure of it. I think the more we kind of pull the curtain back, the more we see that people are more alike in our foibles. And if that's not true, I don't want to know. I just want to think of everybody as being uh, as challenged by the basics as I am on any given day. How's that? How's that for optimism? Yeah. Oh, Brad, I don't know if I've even gotten into the PTSI in here too, but we just I just have accumulated a whole platter full of challenges, but one of these days, I think just in general with post traumatic stress disorder, for me, it's usually quite situational, but again, mindfulness practice goes back to help managing life with these kinds of challenges. Uh, Tampa B man, I do better interacting with text. Um, it just feels like since 2020, been the only option. And I have challenges with text. Like my brain just, like it has to parse every word. So if somebody's not very, very clear with me, texts are challenging. Actually, kind of hanging out in live chat and doing this stuff has been more, it kind of informs texting a little bit because we have to practice communicating in that same way. I put the little short snippets and I've gotten a little bit better with texting. In case anybody ever goes, "Why? I wonder why? What good is it spending time in chat?" Well, it'll help you maybe get a little bit better at interpreting text. Yeah. Sophia says she never really saw the point of masking. I can do it, but what's the point really? Well, if you have been bullied and told to shut up and people have just pressed you out of the group, you might, like I had to learn to mask to be able to get into the group and have social interactions. So I think it just really depends on where you're at. And I think for younger people, we're talking about autism much more. And I think we're becoming more tolerant of people who have different ways of communicating. Like, today you might be willing to have a conversation with someone who's not looking you in the eye. And in the 1960s or 70s, if you were addressing somebody without giving them eye contact, like in the household I grew up, that got us, that earned a slap in the head. So I had parents who would often say, "Why can't you act like other kids?" And I mean, parents back in those days just would beat it into a kid to have them conform. So if you were a kid who grew up with a more understanding family, you might be able to just be the way you are and have people respectfully interact with you. But I think for a lot of folks in my generation, that just was not an option. So we we learned to mask so that we could pretend a human. Oh no, Maya's got a code lock on the front door, so she can get in just by pushing the code in, and gets to the car and has no keys and have to go back. I would do. Yeah, Brad says I can be myself on this chat and a few others. I'm so glad. Irish Mart, autistic masking. I've been doing it my whole life and it's exhausting. I try to explain I'm not grumpy. It's just my resting face. That's just my face. My face has a what's going on here kind of a look on it all the time because my brain is just always trying to figure out what's going on here. And it could be like, I don't understand it. What's going on? It could be, this is really interesting. There's so much to learn. What's going on? It's just, it's a fine face. We need to, we need to have a T-shirt with the "What's going on" face on it here. I'm, I'm thinking about. My brain's working on the merch store already. We're not there yet, but Yeah, people in general are exhausting for me. Tampa B man. Yep, same. And every once in a while though, I'll find something, or I'm in a group and we're doing a thing, and I can just stay there for hours. But also sometimes there's places where I think I should fit in here, and I can, like, 10 minutes. I'm like, my head's starting to explode. So all right, thank you, Selma. Keep an eye out for that. So for Brad, his PTSD is he gets set off around loud noises and bangs, and he has hypervigilance. Yeah, the mindfulness practice has really reduced my hypervigilance. Also, uh, not having to deal with people since 2020 really helped me to reduce my hypervigilance. Just to get it, it's okay. Having a little bit of elbow room, that really helped. But mine comes from trauma that happened in a hospital. So mine's pretty much, if I can stay out of medical settings, I don't have to contend with it too much. It's, yeah, but boy, you come at me with a sphygmomanometer and my blood pressure jumps 20 points. Tampa man, no whistling, clapping, or walking in the room. No walking? You're like, oh, don't you hate like being in a grocery store and there's somebody whistling? Just, ugh. The Trader Joe's in the town where I am, one of the employees is a perpetual whistler, and I bring earplugs. And sometimes I've had to leave Trader Joe's because his whistling is too annoying. And that's okay. Um, Selma, I'm not going to be able to, if I can do one thing because I'm streaming from my phone, so I can't go to another thing and do it simultaneously with the live stream. And also, um, I will just say, if I could, even if I could, I probably wouldn't, just because we're, again, with the keeping it relatively straightforward and simple. There are some channels that do, bring things up on screen and do all of that. That's not me today. So Sophia says, I just didn't really care if people liked me, so sure, I learned how, but I'd rather find my weirdos than a boring character, and if people get mean over it, it sucks for them. That's a great attitude. That is a great attitude. Yep. All right, Flo, thank you. Thank you for spending so much time with us. And yes, go do life. This is just YouTube, and it'll be there if you want to go. If you want to be replay crew, and anybody who is replay crew, thank you. I appreciate replay crew. But yeah, life, yeah, go do it. I'm just here to make your real actual lives a little bit better, not to keep you from them. Irish Mart, you guys with the comments today, it's fantastic. This is fantastic. Irish Mart says, Sophia, that's the point I finally reached in my life. Take me as I am or jog on. I haven't heard that phrase, jog on. Is that an Irishism? I like that. You just jog on. Uh, all right, good, Selma. Thank you for your understanding with that. Oh, Maya, heck, one time I forgot to bring the dog to the vet. It was like the world stopped spinning for a couple seconds when I stood in the waiting room without the dog. Oh, that, it sounds like something I do. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Poor Sander was probably sitting at home going, but, but, but you were supposed to take me. Actually, he was probably napping. He's a good napper, that dog. Alrighty, you guys. I think we're gonna wrap up here. I'm sure I've missed a couple of spots, but I think I hit most everything. And it has been a lovely morning chatting with all y'all, and just terrific. Just want to thank you so much. Yeah, Selma's got to go. It's a good time. I think we should wrap it up and get on with our Tuesdays here. So I encourage everybody to just take some time in your day, make a little bit of art. See if we can zoom this past, give you the wrap up art show. Look, all those little interstices were white when we started. Well, not all of them. I worked a little bit last night. Most of them were. So thanks everybody for coming in. I just appreciate you all so much. Have a great artful day, and we'll see you on the next live stream. Thanks again, Maya, for your help. And all right. I have to look and like give you guys another 45 seconds to get in those goodbyes and those have good days. And I always want to just check and just go to processing. It takes a couple hours before I can get back to it. So Tampa Bay man pajamas rule. So you guys are all welcome, and thank you all.